How do I find tax sales near me? So welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas, and I'm going to educate you a little bit about tax sales, which are really auctions. Now imagine for a minute that you're purchasing a well-maintained home that's valued, tax assessed at $180,000. And so you check on Zillow and you find out it's worth slightly more than that. And you could end up buying that property for 7 cents on the dollar. Would that work for you? Well, of course it would. If you could buy for 7 cents on the dollar with no mortgage and no deed of trust, you'd want to do that all day long. I'm Ted Thomas. I've been teaching and guiding others through this alternative investment field for a number of years, over 30 years. So tax sales are really auctions.
How better go there, how better go there, how better go where, how better go here, how better now, how better go.
So let's learn a little bit about this business. It works like this. The legislature in every state mandates that all property owners must pay property taxes. All right, now the majority of the owners are going to pay the taxes and do exactly like the law says. But there's going to be a small percentage of those people. They might have some problems in their life. They might have some financial difficulties. They might have some health issues. They don't pay their property taxes, and the property ends up in default. All right, now when properties end up in default, there's going to be some consequences because the people are not paying their property taxes. Now, when I say consequences, for the property owners, most of those consequences are bad. All right, so the problem is the local county needs money. They need the revenue. They need the revenue to pay the school teachers, to pay the county employees, to pay for the schools, to fix the roads. And what about the police? They pay the police and they pay the firefighters and lots of other county bills. So the county has to do something because they've got to get that revenue. I'll be right back and give you more details. Today's episode is answering the question, how do I find tax sales near me? Now, tax sales near you are going to be very easy because they're really called tax defaulted auctions or tax lien certificate auctions. They're always going to be an auction. So the county is experiencing money problems because people haven't paid their tax. So they will advertise in every county in the United States. They will advertise that they're going to have tax defaulted auctions. Now, a tax defaulted auction primarily is talking about they're going to sell the actual property. But in addition to that, half of the counties will have a tax lien certificate auction. Now, they do that on the county website, they do it online, and they do it offline. But there's over 3,000 plus counties in the United States. Every single county has the ability to auction properties, okay? Now, there's 3,000 plus counties. They're going to either auction tax lien certificates or they're going to auction tax defaulted property. So there's going to be plenty for everyone, and it's near you because it's in the county. It's going to happen in the county that you're in. However, everything's online today, so now you have 3,000 plus opportunities. Okay, now how did this all come about? Well, the legislature in each of the states decides and makes the rules. So they have mandated that all property owners must pay property taxes. If they don't pay property taxes, there's a consequence. The county will start a foreclosure process, which they basically mandate that everybody pay the tax. So they let the Board of Supervisors or county commissioners, they will notify the tax collector and the treasurer to put the property in default of taxes. The treasurer will begin that process and send notices of default to that property owner. All this culminates in the government seizure and confiscation of that property. Now, what does the government want with the property? They don't want it. So they're going to auction that property off. All right, so that's what we're talking about. How do I find tax sales? They're really going to be tax auctions. They can be online and they can be offline. And there's going to be properties in all 3,000 plus counties. All right, now the tax collector and the treasurer has seized the property, and they're authorized to collect the delinquent taxes. So what will they do? They'll put that property up for auction. The minimum bid will probably be very close to the back taxes. It could be 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents on the dollar. Guess what? If you could buy for 5 or 10 cents on the dollar with no mortgage or deed of trust on the property, you'd have a bargain on your hand. You see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. The properties are discounted from the tax assessed value 60, 70, and 80%. The county doesn't want the property. They want to sell the property because they need the revenue to take care of the government bills that they have to pay. All right, so imagine you're buying a property at auction. All right, so you're purchasing a building and a property that's worth $180,000. Let's say it's a condominium and it's built in an urban area and it's on a lake, and you can get the whole thing at a tax auction for only $11,000. Well, that's what two of my clients did. This is a married couple, and they purchased a tax lien certificate for $11,000. And before they bought the certificate, they followed my number one rule. My number one rule is always look at the property, have boots on the ground so that you know that it's really there and it has no problems. If you could buy a property worth $180,000 and you only had to pay $11,000, you figure it out really quickly while we're talking. Would that make a significant difference in your life? Well, of course it would. Well, that's exactly what took place for the two students. Let's call them D and R. All right, they're a married couple, they're raising a family, and they learned about this business and they took action. So the local county started an auction. It was a tax lien certificate auction, and they purchased a tax certificate for $11,000. $11,000 is all they paid. Now, half of the counties in this United States will sell tax lien certificate. All the counties in the United States will sell tax defaulted property. What are we doing in this particular episode? What we're doing is we're talking about how do I find tax sales near me? They're going to be easy to find. Every single county in the United States will sell either a tax lien certificate or they will sell a tax defaulted property. So the answer is all the local counties, every county in the United States is selling it. DNR waited almost 3 years after they purchased it. They purchased the certificate. Each year they paid the taxes, okay? At the end of 3 years, no payment from the property owner. The property owner did not come forward and pay the $11,000, did not pay any of the accrued interest, and the judge awarded them the property. In the courtroom, awarded them the property. So now they got a property. They went out and checked to see what its value was. It was valued at $180,000. They had Zillow sell the property. They sold the property. They paid the commission. They ended up with $169,000. Folks, think about this. Ask yourself, if you could buy a property slightly used, slightly abused for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, and you put some signs on the front lawn, and you went to Zillow, or you went to Craigslist, or you put it on eBay, or you decided you're going to use that multiple listing, and you could sell that property, would that be worthwhile to you? Well, in this case, it was really worthwhile, and they didn't have to do any fix-up. So ask yourself, could you help the county out? Could you help your family out? Would this work for you? Well, this would definitely work for you. If you can buy for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar and even sell it for 50 or 60 cents on the dollar, you'd make good money. All right, I don't know who you are, but maybe you're an entrepreneur. People have different personal motivations. I understand entrepreneurs. They want to create what they want to create. Some of them want to be famous. Some of them want to be rich. I completely understand that. However, many of them, when they quit their job, which is against my rule number one for me is don't quit your job. Rule number 2 for me is to tell you, read and listen to rule number 1. Don't quit your job, because many of those people were working 40 hours. Now they go home and they work 60 hours for themselves and they don't make the same amount of money. So if that's you, think about what you're doing. What did DNR do? They realized it was important to market that property. Very important to market the property. Now I'm going to run out of time, but if you underestimate the marketing of property, that's the biggest mistake you can make as an entrepreneur. They right away went to Zillow and got that property sold. So the simple blunder makes a big difference. You need to know that you're going to have to market these properties. So you're going to buy the property for pennies on the dollar, but what are you going to do? You're going to want to get that property sold. If you want to get it sold quickly, you're going to have to do some marketing. What does that mean? That means you're going to have to put the property on Zillow, multiple listing. Think about Craigslist. Every electronic site you can think of, you need to market property. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to sell it. My name is Ted Thomas. I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.